Look, I was a bit of an asshole, do apologise. Obviously, you know, Richard is the guy that I should be blaming, not you guys. So, anyway, but it looks like we are starting from 0-0, so final map of the third and fourth place playoffs game here. It seems like the majority of us have picked Very Games for the victory. I'm going to go against the grain. I'm going to go with ESC, just for the simple fact that I've seen Very Games making a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes, and I think that's only going to be amplified as the actual, you know, the time spent in game goes on. We are now approaching, what time we're looking at CET here. We're coming up on, we've just turned 12 o'clock, so obviously we're looking at beyond 12 hours of play at this point now, 14 hours pretty much straight for all the teams involved. And I mean, Fred, I'll ask this to you because you're obviously one of the guys who would be able to answer this question. How much of a factor is the amount of time spent in game? Do you suffer from burnout after a certain amount of time?
Yeah, for sure. It's like in the beginning, you're kind of like, you have to warm up. I think your peak is like after 3 or 4 maps, but after then, everything just starts to decline after that.
Yeah, I suppose one thing to take into account is everybody's been playing the same amount of time, so you should see the same sort of degradation across the board. But then again, some teams are more resilient. Some teams do put in, you know, extended practice hours to combat things like this, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that depends on the personality and stuff like that as well. But yeah, it looks like Very Games is going to take the first round on this map.
Yeah, now we have resumed with guns in play, so I'm assuming that we're resuming at 3-0 here. Just that the scoreboard has yet to be updated, so we had a manual restart. Must have been a problem with the E-bot. You can see 2-on-3 situation, but the health in favour of ESC here. Lord forced to fall away. It looks like we are going to see the headshot come into Taz. That's going to leave just 33 HP, and we are going to see pretty much a retreat here, I would imagine. Let's find out where Lord actually is.
Yeah, and this bomb site is hard, if not the hardest map to retake on off all the maps in one in CS in general. I mean, it's basically so many angles to cover. It's basically impossible.
Yeah, I will say this though: Very Games managed to do it 7 times in a row against Navi.
Oh,
so
yeah, but that was the other bomb site.
Actually, yeah, good point. Actually,
yeah.
It was A that they kept hitting with the quick
exactly.
plant. So yeah, you do have a good point though.
Bjorn, I would like you to take over as play-by-play caster this round. It's your turn.
It's okay.
Well, we'll ease you into it later on. We'll throw it over to Warclown as he tried to bury you there. So Warclown, earn your pay, buddy. Go ahead.
All right, so I get all the eco rounds. So let's see here. We've got ESC now on an eco. We got an M4 here on Lord actually. So let's see if he can put that to good use. Just holding that short area onto that B bomb side. Not a lot of action going down in the early stages of this game. Very Games are putting over some nades towards that connector over to that A bomb site, and that overlay is not really telling me much. We've got Xixens and his teammates slowly pushing up towards B through short area, not really finding any kills there. Well, while I said that, Smith is actually going to be able to pick up that kill onto Pasha. Being dropped to 22 HP there, so should be really pleased about that. And NBK also being put very low here. They're having a bit of trouble with that eco from ESC thus far. And Jay, can you what would you do in this position? Obviously, being the seasoned veteran pro player you are.
Personally, I would curl up in a ball and just wait to be decimated, and that seems to be what ESC are doing here. The bomb has been planted now, and basically, I would settle for exit frags and try and bag a weapon out of it. Would you agree with that, Warclown?
I would not agree with that, but that's why you never played at the top level of CS. Back to the game here, we got a Lord on 50 HP, even being put down even lower. It's down to 2v3 now, which is pretty damn good for an eco. Let's see, the bomb is ticking away, so the round will soon go in favor of Very Games. So not really a lot of stuff to talk about here. We got Lord just holding that cringe position here, just trying to get those exit frags, and he will not get anyone. So not particularly. Okay, I can't say that word, so I'm going to resign that. I'm just turning off the microphone.
That's the best possible way of signing off ever. Gons, what are you seeing here? Are you seeing anything that particularly would elucidate people? Or
what I'm doing is I'm actually rounding up tweets and Twitch TV.
Oh, okay. So you're doing something useful. Cool.
The producer. So I'm going to come in at half-time and give you some of the highlights of the idiocy that is out there on the internet. So
Sounds
stay
good.
tuned.
Sounds like we're going to lose some brain cells in the process, but oh well. So I think what we'll do is we'll actually give this game the respect it deserves from this point forward, and myself and Fret will broadcast it for you. Now we are seeing Scream with the headshot onto the catwalk overwatch position. That's going to be has a shutdown. Now at this point, it's got to be advantage Very Games, hasn't it? I mean, we're seeing 2 FAMASs in play and 1 member removed from ESC. Doesn't bode well, really, does it?
No, not at all. Still, it's there are on that catwalk area where you can basically get very boxed in, and the city can string a lot of frags together in a row, as we see right now.
Neo open it with the AK. It's going to be Neo, Taz, and Lord picking up kills in quick succession. Second one for Neo here. He's going to be looking for the kill into Kenny. Kenny's going to be flashed out. He's forced up, looking for the no scope. Is it going to be a knife kill? No. We're going to see the pistol come in. It's going to be the headshot, and the final kill comes in from Cuban. So much needed run on the board there to break the momentum of Very Games. And you know what? I didn't actually catch the score before the restart, so I'm not entirely certain of the score here. Do you know?
It was 3-0 in favor of. It was Very Games, yeah.
Very Games.
Yeah.
Okay, so right now we got a scoreline of 5-1 then in favor of VG.
Yeah, exactly. And that just proves what's happened right there. If you go that catwalk area, I talked about this earlier, like being the worst tactic in CS, going where Very Games is going right now, because you can be the cities can shoot you from so many angles. And just as I said that, it appears they managed to get through that area and might win this round.
Yep, it does seem like they have managed to breach that. Obviously, it's the exception that doesn't prove the rule, to be quite honest. So they have managed to actually capitalise on that push. And it looks like Smiths is going to get a nice, easy frag down to Taz. Taz did check his corner, but obviously didn't have the drop there, and he just got AK'd in the face. So a 1-on-3 situation. We are going to see Lord here retreat with that M4 and play it smart. Obviously, that is the advisable thing to do. I'm not going to give you such an easy colour analysis job to say is that the correct thing to do. What I'm going to ask you is at this point, what can ESC do to maintain some kind of control? Because now they're going to be cash screwed, aren't they?
Yeah, it's really hard to say. Really, it's still so early in the game, so they can't like. They shouldn't make any like rash decision doing some anti rounds, but yeah, I don't know. I just think they should play their own game and be confident. That's the best thing they can do this early in the game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with the game as it is right now, it's still a very prestigious game. This is going to affect rankings, and it's also going to affect bank balances more importantly. So I'm not talking about in-game bank balances either. I'm talking about real world. Obviously, that converts into more support for the team. Basically, whoever wins this game is going to have a much better chance coming into the next tournament. So while we've already seen the grand final, there's still plenty of good CSGO action to be had, isn't there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is a really great game. ESC and Team Very Games, 2 of the favorites to maybe beat NIP this tournament. Didn't happen to be the case this time, but let's hope they can show us a great game this last map at least.
Yeah, I mean, apparently it must have been a good game because we're now on the 3rd map, of course, so it would have been a fairly even game. I have to say, I'm impressed with ESC. They've come on leaps and bounds. A lot of people are going to say that it's Very Games falling off the pace, but I don't particularly think it is. I mean, they studied the problems they had on the first day in the group stages. They've put in some decent performances across the board. I mean, we've had moments from all 5 in the Very Games squad where they've shined. Really, I'm just pleasantly surprised that the 1-6 teams have stepped to the forefront, Navi and ESC in particular. And we are seeing basically what we'd hoped for from the start here.
Yeah, for sure. And as I said earlier, I don't think this game will be like a true measure between these 2 teams, since ESC is, yeah, as I said earlier, they're not that good at the 3rd place decider games. They have a real hard time going in 100% as. So yeah, I think Very Games will run away with this right now.
Yeah, they are notorious in sort of big game situations for being able to pull themselves, from lower bracket and such.
Yeah.
But as you have alluded to, obviously 3rd and 4th place, they seem to lose a bit of passion. And I think what it is basically is it's not the heads dropping. It's just that they expend so much energy in the the quest to get to the finals. If they don't get there, it kind of zaps them of any motivation really. So it's one of those things. Some teams do have that dynamic. ESC have been fairly renowned in 1-6 history for that. Anytime they have flopped, it's been usually a pretty big flop, hasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it basically happens to teams that play with a lot of emotion. It can pay off, because when you get rolling, you get the team start screaming and they just start building momentum. But it can backfire as well, as we can see right now. I mean, in my opinion, ESC is a bit better than Very Games right now in CSGO, but their emotions is just getting in the way in their way this game.
Yep, well, that's another round on the board here for Team Very Games. It's going to bring us to a scoreline of 8-1 in favour of the French squad. And really, I mean, very games are going to be holding on to that sort of third place spot in the rankings for my money by the skin of the teeth. I mean, ESC are snapping at the heels now. You've got Navi also coming up. I wouldn't be surprised to see very games drop off, and end up perhaps in a, sort of a lower echelon top 10 spot eventually, because if they continue to stay the same and we don't see any improvement and everybody else is improving at the same rate we're seeing, the gap between them is going to close, and eventually it's not going to close, it's going to be a differential, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And I want to take up something Simon talked about earlier today, about there's a lot of source players right now in the top. As you can see, like the top 8, I think like 6 teams, no, maybe 5 teams were ex-source teams. The thing is, however, there isn't actually many top 1.6 team who has switched over. Like, it's basically Navi and ESC. Like NIP, it's a mixed team. Fnatic is a mixed team, which actually has more source players now than 1.6 players, I think.
Yep.
So it's basically ESC and Navi, and they are doing like really good.
Yeah. To be honest, I think the sort of Source versus 1.6 debate is sort of a null point anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all playing gold these days.
For sure.
It's basically flogging a dead horse. So I'm more interested in the way that these games unfold in the future rather than having a futile debate about CS 1.6 against CSS, which is the more entertaining, which has got the better scene. Because it's a pointless debate at this point, and we are wasting valuable time as a community where we could be talking about the teams themselves as opposed to the scenes. Anyway. It's going to be a good round here for ESC. As you can see, Kenny S, last man standing from Team Very Games. He's going to be hunted down like a dog here if he's not careful. You can see on the overview, he does have the bomb. He's going to be looking to actually push in and get the plant here. Do you think that's advisable, or would you save the AK in this position?
I would probably go for it. I mean, they're in such a big lead right now anyways, and they have the economy, so basically it's worth for him if he just gets one kill. I would probably just like walk around the entire map, get one guy, backstab one guy, and probably lose the round after that. But just get one kill.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, cash damage to the CTs at this point, and because they are the CTs as well, obviously that buy not much more expensive, but slightly more expensive with the M4s though. If you can remove even just one weapon, it doesn't. But like I said, it's only the loss of body armor and an AK at the end of the day, and with that bank balance that they've built up from being 8-1 up. They're not struggling for cash here, are they?
No. They're for sure. They're not. You can see they're full buy. They have full grenades. Kenny S, he just waited for something, and
I mean, they've already got, for my money, more runs than we would have expected from the T side here anyway. I mean, what we've seen so far from Mirage is basically, at least at this level of play, is that it does seem to be quite CT sided.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, 9-2. And it doesn't feel like ESC is trying something new to win the rounds. It's just, I just feel like they have given up. They just want to go home right now. Yeah.
You can almost feel it's palpable, isn't it? You just feel that from the play style. I mean, you can see right now Taz. How often do you see Taz sort of just jimmying around, wildering whilst he's impatient? Normally he's holding an angle, he's crouched down, he's waiting for that push. That's basically the difference here between the two teams. Very Games are playing a very standard sort of setup. It looks like ESC just seem to be quite happy to roam around the map, try and pick up kills where they can, but they're not playing it the way they would do if the heart was in it, are they?
No, absolutely not. It actually looks like they're playing like a normal practice game, and ESC was also known in 1.6 for being extremely bad at practice games.
Well, as you can see, Kenny S with the AK-47 headshot. That's going to be the bomb still up, so we should see a plant here, 3-on-2 situation. The A site being pushed. Now, obviously, we have seen the majority of the action go down at A on Mirage here. Do you see B as a viable bomb site? Why is it not used even like 20% of the time?
It's easy. I mean, it's basically so hard to attack that bomb site. As I said earlier, like one of the worst tactics in CS is trying to split B. It's basically, as I always said, it's so many angles the CT can defend that bomb site from. I mean, they can be defensive, they can be offensive catwalk, they can stand in that balcony, and you can actually aim catwalk from the A bomb site. So that's why they never go there. However, it's like a big gamble. If you take over the big bomb site and you get the bomb down, you have won the round. You can basically win a 3v5.
Well, Bomb is going to explode momentarily here, but I'm kind of more interested in what Simon's laughing at. Basically, he's giggling like a little schoolgirl in the background, and we're not involved in the joke, so that makes me nervous. Anyway, it's going to be pretty much a one-sided affair here by the looks of it. Obviously, 3 runs on the board at the start for Very Games, with 7 in the restart. That makes it a 10-2 scoreline. And really, with it being 10-2 now, it's going to be pistols in the second half on the CT side, I think, for Very Games. They are capable of taking the pistols here against a very downtrodden ESC, and then locking up a game fairly soon after that, I would imagine.
Yeah, and the score is going to be 11-2 now in a second, and I can't feel AFC has anything to pull out of their hat to get this match back in their favor.
No, they seem at the point where they don't want to concede the game, but they're just playing for the sake of playing.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, as I said earlier, it looks just like ESC on practice, just completely unmotivated. Yeah, Very Games is going to win this game. Like ESC is not even trying, I feel like, right now.
Yeah, to be honest, I think if this would have been like, say, in the actual, say, semi-final,
yeah,
I think it would have been a very entertaining game. But obviously, with it happening in the third and fourth playoffs, and obviously ESC showing their, I guess you could refer to it as being sort of jaded at this point now.
Yeah,
that's the way that I think would probably be the most apropos to explain it.
Yeah, but I actually want to point something out. I mean, it's not that we're saying that. Very Games is they're the worst team. ESC is not even trying. They could beat them any day. Like being serious in situations like this is actually part of being a good team. So, like them playing like this is a bad thing.
That is such a good point you've just made there. I mean, it's part and parcel of being a team at this level. If the difference in money could very well mean the difference between being able to put a boot camp on for the next event and not.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, many teams it's like, we lost that third game decider versus that team, and we would have won if it was the final. But no, you still lost versus them. Yeah, you were the worst team since you lost versus them.
Like, I mean, the results don't lie at the end of the day,
exactly.
do they?
So Very Games, which is kind of interesting seeing how ESC has won so many events. But as we said earlier, they are a team that play with a lot of emotion.
Yeah, they're notorious for if they're not in the hunt, then they are usually going to crumble because they just don't have the. I wouldn't say they don't have the passion, because, like you said. I mean, it's the passion's all spent, and by the time they've gone through and they've dropped, into the third and fourth place playoffs, they don't really have much left really to give.
Yeah, exactly. They want to win a tournament, or they don't care.
Yeah, they want to win or die trying, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it boils down to. And I mean, we've seen them multiple times. 3-time WCG winners. They're not a team to rest on the laurels either. I mean, I think back to WCG 08 in Cologne. I was actually casting the whole tournament with Red Eye, Tosspot, and BSL actually. Oh. And it was the Nuke game. Who was it against now? I want to say it was against Eastro. I think it was against Eastro.
Yeah, they lost the quarterfinal, I think.
Yep. Yeah. And then we had the moment where I want to say it was Cuban had the scout pickup on a full eco. Managed to pick up sort of 3 kills on an upper catwalk entry onto the lower side, and completely change the course of the game. So it's not completely beyond the ESC to pull out something that is special, even when they're being a bit downtrodden. But what I would say is, Very Games are not going to give up any easy frags here, and they're not going to let up at all. As you can see, I mean, ESC did manage to pick up a round here, but for my money, that's a consolation round. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, exactly. It's 12-3 ST on Mirage. I mean, Very Games is so happy with that half. If we could see them right now, there would be like zero excitement in there. Like when Very Games win, which they probably will, it will be like, yeah, they will list.
To be honest, I think they will walk away from this a little bit disappointed, not getting that second place finish, because that's what they've become accustomed to.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think given the performance of a Nexus, they can't be angry about that at all. What they've got to do is they've got to go back to the drawing board. They've got to work on the communication issues that plagued them in the group stages, which have been ironed out to a certain degree. But they've also got to just work on the. It's not the strats, but it's the execution of the strats. What it boils down to.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, I think Very Games might be the most disappointed team in the entire tournament. I feel like if you go to a tournament after tournament, you're coming second place to the same team time after time, and you're like, come on, guys, we can beat them. And the next tournament, you don't even make.
You don't even
final.
get the chance to beat them.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Then that must be so demotivating.
Well, we are going to be going live on the second half of the final map of the third and fourth playoff game here at the Catz CSGO Invitational. Let's give you the quick Alienware roster rundown on Very Games, who are your CTs right now. We've got Scream, Smiths, Existence, who's going to be the caller, of course, Kenny S, and MBK. For ESC, we're going to have Lord, Cuban, Pazza, Taz, and Neo. That concludes your roster rundown. Opening set nades going out. Looking to do a little bit of damage. It looks like Pazza was tickled for some 42 damage there, and it looked like Lord's taking about 8, so... no harm, no foul. 2 HEs wasted there, and I think that's got to work in ESC's favour here, because by the time the retake comes in, because it does look like we should see a plant here, they're not going to have the HE to dislodge the basically the planter. Chances of a plant here?
Pretty high actually, since they killed Scream, and as I said, that the bomb goes down.
Yep, so here we go. It's going to be ESC defending. And this would make it a much more respectable scoreline, but I think, to be honest, it's kind of prolonging the inevitable, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Very Games played very, very well versus Navi on this map as well as CT. They have great retakes on that A-bomb fight. Not being able to prove that on the pistol round, but that's because they don't have an AWP, or they have much less grenades as well. So
yeah.
They will just go for a double eco, and I think they feel very comfortable anyways. I mean, the pistol round is pretty random. Yeah,
I mean, we've been a 12-4 scoreline. They're not sweating it at this point. And until we start to see, you know, ESC get 9 rounds on the board, I don't think Very Games are going to be too stressed at all. They're on the stronger side as well now. They're on the CT side, of course. And what we saw them do to Navi was nothing short of spectacular. The 7 rounds of overtime were spectacular in their own right, but the MR15 rounds that Very Game put on the retakes, I was surprised that they did manage to consistently retake the site. They seemed to just give up the plant, and that was part of their strat, which, to be honest, the first couple of rounds perplexed me, because I saw them actually backing off site and conceding the plant. But after about 3 or 4 rounds, it was like, I see what they're doing here.
Yeah.
Basically, they're making their opponent overcommit. Now, whether we're going to see that against ESC, to be honest, I highly doubt it. I don't think ESC are going to be that rash where they're just going to run in, go for the quick plant, and then basically get dicked one by one. So.
Yeah, well, maybe because of the situation in this game.
Perhaps, yeah. But even then, I think that goes against ESC's playstyle. I mean, they're not necessarily renowned for just rushing in, getting the plant, and then sort of being hyper-aggressive. They play a very smart, I don't want to say methodical, because methodical gets confused with boring. It's far from boring. It's systematic, basically. They take a team to pieces, player by player, basically.
Yeah, exactly. They play very, very smart. But I actually think like their solution would be pushing CT spawn. I mean, plant fast, throw nades versus CT spawn, because it's actually quite easy to take that area. I mean, you have already smoked the connector, as Navi did every single round versus Very Games. You can just run down the CT spawn. If you run there with 3 guys, let's say 2 die, you're still in an advantage. Because
the one thing I will say to that, though, there is a counter to that, and Very Games did show this. It's basically to use that offensive smoke as defensive smoke once the bomb's gone down. Smoke up the bomb through the smoke, and then go for the ninja, and that's what we saw. I think it was like 5 rounds in a row.
Yeah, but you will deny that if you push CT spawn right away, because then the guy who is going for the defuse, who always came from CT spawn,
he has to fight his way to the bomb.
Yeah, exactly, and he will probably back down CT spawn. And what it all came down to is Navi not saving their grenades that game. Yeah, but where we should focus a bit more on this game right now.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, the Navi game was great and all, but it's not a third and fourth playoff game. So we are seeing the bomb going down in the hands of Neo here. That's going to be the plant. 3 members remain to find here from Very Games. I think they're probably just going to set up for exit frags here. I'd be surprised if they didn't. Try and grab a couple of AK-47s here and save a bit of cash for the next round. Obviously, the next round should be. Are they going to light by here, do you think, or are they going to try and get the AWP on Kenny S?
I don't know, actually.
I mean, it's CT sides. I mean, it's not like they've had any bomb plants to give them any extra money, is it?
No, that's true. I'm actually quite interested next round if they're going for a triple eco, perhaps. I mean, like you're up 12-3 as CT on Mirage. It actually makes sense. Yeah, and it would have followed them even if he lost the first gun round. It would have followed them a second full buy. So it's a conservative approach, but I think it's going to lead to a higher ratio of wins in games. I think we tend to overlook that. A lot of teams just think, oh, well, we can buy. This is the time we change the game around. Well, why put all your eggs in that one basket? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, if you mess up on that one run, one stupid mistake, one bad nade, one bad flash on the entry, you find yourself double eco again. Yeah, for sure. And it looks like ESC going just for a slow standard round, and the bomb's walking towards the A bomb site. It seems like they just wanted to leave a Pasha up in that middle area, denying the backup from that catwalk area.
Now, it does seem like Very Games have completely ignored Fret's assessment here. So they have gone for the full buy. It does look like everybody is fully bought up pretty much. Kenny only with 2 nades though, so indication there that obviously we will see probably double eco after this if they do lose. Chances are though, to be honest, the way that Very Games have played the CT side and the way that ESC have played so far in this third map, we should very well see Very Games lock it out here on the A side.
Yeah, for sure, and the push is coming right now, and if you look at the overview, they're actually letting them going up the bomb site, and I think we're going to see a round very similar to the Navi game.
Yep, standard strat here on the retake, so you're going to see all those excess grenades being used, flashbangs, smokes and HE going to be utilised to full effect here. You're going to see MBK putting down the suppression. There's the headshot from Existence, so the retake well underway here. Smokes out, we are going to see the HE coming in. Did I see a collision between 2 grenades though? I think I did actually, that's quite impressive.
Oh really?
Yeah, I think so.
First time.
Oh, Taz lighting them up. 3 AK headshots, eventually shut down by Smith, who does have time for the defuse here. If he didn't have the kit, that would have been an explosion, but because it was a full buy.
Taz anyways.
Yeah, I mean, that was impressive. Coming out off the platform there, opening up with the AK, 3 headshots in quick succession. Unfortunately, he couldn't get the 4th. I mean, he did have ammo left in his clip to get it done, but Smith was having none of that. Decided, well, I'm just going to pistol you in the face, buddy. Sorry about that. And he does pick up the defuse. So, as you can see from the scoreboard here in the second, well, that's not really the second half. I mean, obviously the E-bot has carried over somewhat of the score from the first half. So don't take this as a complete indication of who's done what so far. But Taz is in first place in the server. Second place is going to belong to Neo so far. So, but that is not factoring in obviously the first half.
Yeah, we saw the same thing happening to Navi that round. They just played way too passively, I think. Or they should have like a plan for the after plant. It just feels like they spread out random positions.
Yeah.
And hope for the best.
One thing I will say though, Very Games' flashbangs are spot on.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It does stop you from being hyper aggressive, but there is nothing stopping you from digging in a little bit deeper on that bomb site and just covering the actual plant itself.
Yeah, exactly. Like have a plan. Like maybe we hide and then we flash back when there are flashing or something like.
To be honest, I think if this would have been like, say, an actual playoff game, what ESC would have done is they would have pulled that Navi demo. They would have looked at exactly how Kenny S is basically the base point for this retake, and they would have anti-stratted against that. But I think with them being a little bit despondent perhaps, they're probably not going to want to sit there and watch demos and the like. They're just going to want to get this over and done with. So
yeah, for sure. And it's the same round and Kenny S is defusing.
Yeah, already on the bomb, and there he goes. And standard fur here for the CTs of Very Games. That's going to make it a scoreline of 14-6 by my calculation.
Yeah, and you shouldn't get me wrong, like I'm saying that it's easy to do something about it. It is a very hard bomb site to defend, but if you get the bomb down and you are 5 guys alive and you have a plan, I think you're in an advantageous position.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you can get one guy high after picking off a couple of guys, that's also going to help the cause as well, because obviously you can start to spray down into that smoke, and the angle of the fire is going to assist in the actual tag of the guy defusing the bomb. But really, Very Games, I mean, we're overlooking the fact that Very Games the whole time are pushing back as well. So it's not like they're just sort of flashing and then sitting at the back of sight and hoping that the Ninja goes ahead. They're putting down M4 and ARP fire the whole time as well. So and they are one of those teams who are perfectly capable of in a retake situation like that with flashbangs in reserve, they're more than capable of going one-on-one versus ESC.
And let's see ESC pushing down CT spawn right now, as I talked about earlier, and it seems like it's working out.
I mean, it's an interesting strategy, just the quick rush plan. Obviously, if you are in an eco, it's pretty much going to guarantee the close to $4,000 that you are going to pick up from the bomb plant. But in a gun round, I wouldn't mind seeing ESC sort of slow it down a little bit. We did see Navi actually in the overtimes. They slowed it down. They had a lot more success, didn't they?
Yeah, for sure. But still, I feel like if you know how Very Games is going to play, and they still play that way, you should just adapt to that. I mean, basically throw one smoke, CT spawn, one smoke connector. They don't even have to run up. They can walk up the bomb site and plant the bomb after that. I mean, there's so many variations to what they're doing right now. They don't have to waste like 8 flashes and 4 smokes right away to get that bomb down. Apparently, since there is never a very games player on that A bomb site.
Yeah, this is one thing that I pointed out in the obviously in the Navi game, that Navi were burning a lot of flashbangs to get into site, and it wasn't needed. One to get the entry, one to flash into CT spawn to keep very games on the retreat, and basically smoke cover for the plant, and then everybody else should keep all the stuff in reserve to deal with the retake. Now, speaking of explosions and grenades, we have seen a lot of those coming in.
Oh, 4 headshot.
Yep.
No. Scream almost got an ace.
I was just about to point that out then. We almost had a naked Simon on stream, but
yeah,
it's not going to happen, so you don't have to remove your eyeballs from your skulls just yet. We are seeing basically Very Games now get back on track here, and I have to say Very Games now at game point, this is basically all but GG, isn't it?
Yeah, there's not much to say. I mean, by this point Richard would ask me, oh yeah, what do you think ESC can do to get back in this game? And yeah, it's nothing. There's nothing they can do. They're all going to lose this game apparently. Maybe they can like make it a nicer score, but I think they're going to lose this round actually.
I think they're not even going to be concerned about score. I think they're just going to force the issue here. They're going to rush in sort of good old Swedish eco style, get this over and done with, and collect the prize money for 4th place, which honestly is going to affect the rankings, but I think they've done better than quite a few people would have perceived that they would have done, to be honest. So no doubt they will be disappointed. I think a team of this caliber should be disappointed until they start achieving, what they've achieved in the past. That being said, though, I've been impressed with the play that they've brought when they have had the heads in the game. Anyway, final kill going to come in from Kenny S. That's going to be the GGs, and that is going to conclude the coverage of the 3rd and 4th playoff game. What we're going to do is we're going to have a little bit of a discussion here before we close it down. Only a couple of minutes, obviously, because it is getting late now, and the production guys more than deserve a break. I mean, obviously, that game doesn't really warrant discussion because it was basically one-sided. But how do you feel about what we saw from the CS:GO Invitational sponsored by Catz?
Yeah, I think it was a great tournament. There wasn't that many upsets, I'm afraid. Maybe Lemon Dogs actually losing. I mean, they have been playing well prior to this tournament, so...
Gonzo decides he's going to interject, yeah.
Other than that, it's good that Annexus came to the final. I mean, basically kind of boring that NRP won once again, but it's still nice to see a good team like NIP play.
I was just about to preface that. Yeah, I was going to say it's a little bit boring seeing the same results over and over, obviously, but the form and fashion that they do it in, it's something to behold. I mean, there's for my money, I haven't seen a CS team, and when I first started watching competitive, I think I first started watching competitive probably would have been about late 2004, early 2005, when you had the SK-NIP sort of rivalry going on. You had Fnatic starting to emerge around about that sort of time. You had the Asian scene, that was obviously putting in some good results left, right, and centre. There was a lot of great CS going on at that time. I still think, pound for pound, this NIP team, this mixed team that we're seeing with, the mix of CS and CS16 is probably the best team that we've seen in any iteration of Counter-Strike. I don't know if you agree with that. I think you do disagree with it, but...
Yeah, well, they are for sure the most dominant one. I mean, that I can't deny. Like, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Then it's still very hard because it's such a new game.
Yeah, I mean, as the top 16 sort of bring their game up, I think we are going to see, the claim to perhaps being the best CS team of all time, if they can maintain this, obviously become more valid. Now, they do have to have a longer proven track record to take that away from Navi at this point, for my estimation. But I think if they maintain what they're doing now for, let's say, another year, which isn't unfeasible, to be honest, I would consider them up there, most definitely.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, before we start the Mutual Stroke Fest, what we're going to do is we're going to throw it over to Guns and Simon, and we're going to see what they thought about the 3rd and 4th place playoff game.
We already started the Mutual Stroke Fest over on.
You're using your laptop there? I hope that's the laptop.
Yeah, no, the laptop's been away for 5 minutes. Right. Let's. What I thought would be nice to talk about, just to finish it all, because we can debate the whole team thing. We're blue in the face. Ultimately, right now, NIP are the big boys. Navi are going to get there. I definitely was hugely impressed with them, and great game against Very Games. For Very Games to dig that deep and beat that for them. I mean, it's a shame that game wasn't the final in a way. No disrespect to anyone else, but I just thought that was the strongest game in the tournament. Bury Games and Harvey. It was the most entertaining.
Yeah, by far.
Yeah, and you know, I know there was some issues with the stream in regards to that, which is a real shame, but the demos will have it forever preserved. I'm sure they're going to be uploaded soon, and we're going to chop the VODs together, and you know, people are going to be able to watch that. And if you didn't get to see it, and you didn't get the Go TV or whatever, definitely watch the demo, because that game was absolutely sick, phenomenal. But what I did want to end on, because you know, I think this is an important thing, MVPs.
Ooh, you know, we almost skipped that. Yeah, if I was going to pick an MVP,
Can we make a rule? Not an IP.
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
So a non-NIP MVP.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Markelov.
Loving all these abbreviations.
I'm going to go with Markelov. Because his AW...
You pander to that crowd.
Well,
Jay.
you know, you say that I pander to that crowd, but...
all of a sudden it's just going to be wall-to-wall Russian, you know.
Well, backward arms, left, right and centre, yeah.
Jay Atkins. Yeah.
No, I do genuinely believe his AWP performance came on leaps and bounds in this event. He brought his team to the forefront. There was a moment, though, where I thought they were actually going to beat Very Games. And I think they did deserve the victory over Very Games, to be quite honest. I thought they was... basically the more skilled of the teams. It was just basically they kept beating the head against that brick wall with the retakes. So, yeah, Markelov is probably my MVP. If not Markelov, I'm inclined to go for Pimps. I think Pimps was one of the more impressive players. A lot of people didn't know who he was coming to this event. I think he's going to have quite a few frag movies after this event, though.
Yeah, for sure. And if I get to pick an MVP, I think I would pick someone from ESC. I mean, even if they came fourth, I still feel like they have so much potential in this game. And I'm going to steal Richard's favorite player. I'm going to say Taz. I mean, he's just been playing phenomenal. I mean, he's one of the best, if not the best, CSGO player right now. He's just been playing absolutely amazingly every single game I watched.
Well, no doubt Cadred will have an official thread up, but let's speak to the man in charge of Cadred. Gons, who would you pick for MVP, buddy?
It's got to be someone from a Nexus for me. Like, I got to say, the Serb guys, like KGR, I think it was on the Serbs, that dude was sick, and nobody saw them coming. I know they didn't make it through to the final 8, but they all played incredibly well, but they definitely deserve a mention, and I thought he was the best of that bunch, certainly in the games that I saw, so just a special mention to him, Vivant Serbia, etc. But I think for me, it's got to be someone from a Nexus. A lot of people in the chat, which I am looking again, I'm bent over, it's the laptop again, guys, it's not anything else. A lot of people saying Nico, and Nico's an old friend of mine, so I'm going to get accused of being biased. I felt they all played supremely well, like Nilla had his great moments, Glaive was fantastic.
I personally think there's about 5 or 6 players from this tournament.
Yeah,
you could
really
argue, and they're all equally valid. Yeah,
it's really hard to single someone out. But
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see that poll vote on the Cadred website.
What Nico did, probably his performance was the difference because of how important the AWP is to this dynamic. And when you think about it, we didn't see a lot of great AWPers at this tournament. Once you start talking about, you know, Markelov and Kenny S and things like that, you're starting to run out of names. And Nico definitely put himself in amongst the elite AWPers in Europe this tournament. I thought he played brilliantly. I thought he made movie shots and he made consistent entry picks and consistent defense. That's all you want from an AWPer. So I'm definitely going to give him my nod for NIP MVP. Last word to you. No ace for Scream. I bet you're so glad. You're not sat here.
I was half asleep at one point until
Cheers, thanks.
until Bjorn started screaming about Scream. But yeah, for me, it's going to stand between Pimp or Old Striker, really.
As if we'd imagine the anti-MVP, like who's getting.
Have we not already like kicked this puppy enough?
It's like every game you find a way to work on strike.
Yeah, I suppose it's one of those things now. It's going to become like an in-joke, but it is what it is. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to close it up because obviously this is coming to the point where it's just going to end into all striker bashing, which is never good. So from all the guys that face it, from myself, from Fret, from Gonzo, from Warclown, we're going to bid you adieu now. What we're going to do is, obviously, we're going to get these VODs up as soon as it's humanly possible. The Face It guys are very good on that front. The production has been very tight. Take it from somebody who's worked both production and in front of camera, obviously, and also on the tournament organisation front. I wish these guys would get more work at bigger tournaments because what they've put together here nothing short of impressive. So from everybody involved, it's time to wrap it up now. Of course, we want to throw our thanks out to everybody involved, all the sponsors, of course, Alienware, game on with Alienware. I mean, it's been a great tournament. They've helped make this happen. So there's a reason that I went out of my way to do the Alienware roster rundowns. It's because they're supporting esports in the end. So I'm going to throw them out there, of course. Catz, who without them, none of this would be possible. And of course, Heaven Media themselves. I mean, they're going to take quite a bit of stick over the issues with the tournament itself. But obviously, I think Heaven Media are one of those companies who are smart enough to take it on the chin, to address those issues. And I put it this way, a little birdie's been telling me that somebody's coming on board who's going to be basically one of the guys who could put these problems right. So I think in the very near future, the UK esports scene is probably going to be very impressed with announcements in the near future. So those issues shall be addressed at some point. Anyway, from myself and from everybody involved, thank you for tuning in. And like I said before, follow Faceit on Twitter, follow them on Twitch, give them some feedback. Let them know you want to see more CSGO. They are predominantly Quake Live guys. Watch some of the Quake Live content. I mean, it's not the biggest game anymore, but the standard of play is almost as high as it's ever been. You still have some great players out there. You still got Cypher kicking around. Sturmy still plays occasionally. Cooler's still in play. Avec's missing, which is kind of a shame these days because Avec was pretty much the dominant player 2008, 2009. He does keep showing up occasionally, periodically. I'm sure you will find the VODs of him on the Faceit website, which is faceit.com, of course. So from myself and everybody involved, it's time to bid you adieu. Hopefully you enjoyed what we did here, and hopefully we will get to do this on a fairly consistent basis in the very near future. So we shall catch you on the flip side, and have a good evening.